Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming back to my channel, and thank you for all my subscribers for being so patient with me to get videos out back onto this channel. And also thank you for any new subscribers that are onto my channel. Thank you so much for the love and support. I greatly appreciate it. This is probably going to be one of like the most important videos that I will be uploading to this channel. Besides from the main one that I did, like the most important thing that you can do when you love an addict. If anyone hasn't seen any of those videos, I strongly suggest that you go ahead and just pause this, add it to maybe your watch later videos, and then go check out those other videos on my channel, because a lot of those have like some very important key points. The reason I was doing a lot of these videos, I'm doing them in sequence so that the information that's available there, because a lot of the information actually I mentioned are going to be mentioning more in my other future later videos, but those are like the main key points. So like the most important thing you can do, setting boundaries is another video, like recognizing manipulation. And so just trying to give like people like the tools that have helped me. Again, all I can give you is experiences from my own, things that have helped myself, my family, my loved ones, and dealing with the person that we love that has an addiction problem. So again, I'm actually going to just start off with saying that you guys are so strong. The fact that you are here tells me that you are looking to help somebody that you care about. You care about them deeply. If you didn't, you wouldn't be actually on this video. So just knowing that you are completely strong, take it day by day. And again, I'm just going to be sharing information that has helped me in hopes that it can help others as well. So take whatever information that resonates with you, leave the rest. But I'm also here for anyone that needs like help or support, or anyone to talk to that has gone through this. I know that was a huge thing for me when I was first kind of like got opened up to a lot of this information. Like no one thinks one day that this will be their life, and so then you're just trying to like make ends meet, and you're just trying to like understand certain things. And at the end of the day, it's like people that we love will do anything for them, and we just want like the best for them, and we want them to be happy and healthy. So these are like the tools and the information that helped me, myself, my family, in hopes that I could help somebody else's. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start on this very important topic, which is enabling. Anyone that hasn't heard of that word or term before, enabling, a lot of times like when we hear like enabling, there's actually two definitions for it. Like if you look for it like in the dictionary, it can be relating like with like young ones, like young children and everything, like if they're trying to like learn or do something, like you enable them, like to help them to like learn a concept, or to like so that you can help them grow and build that confidence and move forward. The other definition, again, I'm just like kind of generalizing, basically is it's when you give something or something, and to like for the authority to like for them to do something. So it's like the authority terminology can also come from like whether you are taking authority because you're doing something for somebody else that they should be doing, and you're taking authority doing it for them, and or like they are taking the authority, so it's kind of for when you're talking about generalized definitions. But when it's dealing with somebody that has addiction, and so when you're dealing with a loved one, enabling, a lot of times is that we don't even know that we're enabling. We're just wanting to like help the person that we care about. We want them to get better. We are doing everything that we can out of love. And what we don't realize is what those actions and what even though they might be from like the purest intention, what those actions may be doing. So I'm going to be talking about a little bit about that. Before I go into that, I'm just going to mention that if something does trigger you, cause an emotion, upsets you, just go ahead and just take a pause. And I'm just going to ask that you just ask yourself, why? What is it that was said that was causing you to have a reaction? And that's the only person that can really answer that is going to be yourself. I know for me, when things upset me or kind of like, I get an emotional reaction, it's usually because it's something that I don't want to hear. That's one thing. Another thing is I don't understand it. So I automatically just don't, I'm just like, I have so much other things I can, be doing. I can't do this. It's like a little too overwhelming and stuff. So if that's the case, take a pause, come back, take some deep breaths, and then come back and reflect and see like, if this is going to be information for you, if this is something that you are wanting, because every single time that I've been triggered, had emotional reaction, it is something that I've had to like put that very painful mirror up to my face and be like, okay, this is something that I need to address. This is something that I need to learn. This is something that, it's going to be an important lesson for myself. So, I'm not here to burden or put down anybody. Any of the advice that I'm giving, I've had to give it to myself. And so again, just hoping that it can help somebody else as well. So I'm going to start off with like ways that we do enable our loved ones. And a lot of times it's total, in a logical mind, there's justification for it. But then I will then, tie in later like how it's actually is hurting our loved ones when we do that. So one way of enabling is, the main one is like giving money. Like when a loved one says, they come and they're just like, I don't know how I'm going to pay this bill, or I just lost my job, so-and-so needs like, clothes, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And like, I just need a couple of dollars so I can go and like get us some food real quick, or, I'm low on gas, that kind of thing. And, I need some money for like some cigarettes, or, just like things like that. And, when you're dealing with like relationships and people you care about, and if someone needs help, then of course, like, why wouldn't you not want to help somebody, unless you don't have the means to do it. And other times, like, you figure out and you make things work, and you're like, of course, like, here's $5 or here's $20, or okay, yeah, pay me back, and I'll help you. And in day-to-day lives and day-to-day relationships, that's totally acceptable. But when dealing with addiction, it's a huge red flag for both parties involved. Another one is a way that we can enable is like for housing. We have a loved one that's just like, I don't have anywhere to stay, and you love this person, and of course you don't want them to like go and like be sleeping on the street, or sleeping in their car and worrying about all the things that can happen to that person. So of course, like, yes, you come sleep on my couch, and or like, I'll get you some blankets, and all I have is a floor that, but at least like if they're safe, and they're totally open the door to the people that they care about. Others are like more expensive, like maybe dealing like with like paying for people's attorney fees, and paying for like tickets, or to get their cars out of being like repoed and things in that nature. That's another form of like you're trying to help and a loved one for support. It can also be simply as like, hey, can you give me a ride over here because they don't have a car, and just be like, I need to get downtown over here real quick, or can you take me to this like house like around the corner, or whatever, and just like just like a quick ride. And so just things that like again, like, you know, if it was like a friend or a family member and someone needs some help, you know, of course, you know, we want to help the people that we care about. And so the ways that it actually hurts the person that with addiction is that it doesn't make them accountable for any of the choices that they've made, any decisions that they have made. If they've gotten fired for the 5th, 10th, you know, whatever time because they were kept sleeping on the job or they kept calling in, you know, those, you know, like their behaviors, like they were just like always like being rude to customers or rude to clients and, you know, employees and stuff like that. And, you know, they get a job and they can't keep it for long and then they end up losing it. And so that is, you know, repercussions coming from their choices and their decisions. If they don't have money for food and they don't have money to like pay their bills and everything, you know, again, that's going to be like their responsibilities, to, you know, like when you're like an adult, even when you're dealing with an adolescent that, you know, it's like, oh, the car got repoed, or oh, I totaled the car, I need to get that repaid, and oh, all these court fees and everything like that. If they're not held accountable, then how are they supposed to learn? You know, in this channel, I've mentioned how, excuse me, I'm a mother of 3 small children, and so I'm struggling with that all the time with the children, like, you know, teaching them like, you know, what choices that they make, and you know, like, yeah, we can make mistakes, and yes, we can, you know, try again and everything, but at the same time, you have to live with the choices that you've also made, and sometimes there may be consequences. And so that goes back into like, you know, setting firm boundaries of what you will allow, because if nothing changes, then nothing changes. If a person's not held accountable for their choices and their decisions, they will not learn. They will not learn. And so ways that people with addiction, you know, like they like to like guilt, you know, their loved ones, or maybe we like to guilt ourselves, because again, like those feelings like, oh, I don't want them to be out on the street, you know, like I rather, at least they're in my home, they're safe, and I know that they're okay, you know, like then, you know, that's dealing with our own guilt. Manipulation, you know, just being like, why won't you give me like just $5 just so I can go and get like something to eat real quick, you know, and like they love to like manipulate and guilt and everything, which is why I mentioned at the very beginning of this video is like, make sure that you go and check out those videos for important information on those as well, to deal and to handle a lot of those and why they do it. Because at the end of the day, it's, if they really were worried about sleeping on the street or the fact that they might go out without food, and other situations where, you know, like they can't pay like their phone bill and everything like that, anybody in this world can make, if anything is important for somebody, like they can make the determination and the decision to and focus to make sure that they're going to make that their priority. And right now, when somebody that's dealing with addiction, their main priority is dealing with their addiction. And so if they are capable of still being able to, whatever addiction format it is, so again, there's tons of different varieties of different addictions for people that have the illness. You know, it's like that's all they care about. If they can go day to day and still have it, that's what they want to do. And if they don't have a job and they don't work, or if they're on a street, they will still make it their priority to find a way to get their addiction. And so even if you're not giving it to them, they will try and go and find other ways that they will then can accomplish it. And so when you're dealing with enabling, yep, that's part of it too. You have to deal with the fact that other people will might possibly be enabling them too. And at the end of the day, that is going to be that person's responsibility. It is not yours, because we go back to the 3 C's, where you didn't cause it, you can't cure it, and you can't control it. In my situation, I've actually even had where it's dealing with like establishments like that are helping enable my loved one, and like dealing for the court system. For a while it was like it just felt like, even like in those kind of situations, like with dealing with this attorney or dealing with like the court systems and stuff, like they were even like helping, enabling, and being like, oh, okay, well, we'll give you like like some time to kind of do this and everything. And meanwhile there's like no results coming in, and they're just kind of like letting him just without having any kind of repercussions and anything like that. So it was really struggling to see this. I've actually seen it where other loved ones were enabling my loved one, and that was the hardest thing at the very beginning, was to let go of the control. The fact that, yes, you are worried about your loved one, you want them to get help, and then when you start seeing other people enabling them to help them still be doing the things that they're doing, and you're just kind of like, this is not right, this is not helping, and then you're trying to like get in the mix and everything, and it just like, you had to just step back and just step away. And because you can't control another person, at the end of the day, the only person that you can control is yourself, of how you're going to act, how you're going to react, how you're going to feel. The only person that you can help is yourself, which goes back to my very first video, where the most important thing that you can do to help somebody that you love that has an addiction problem is to take care of yourself first. Because when the reason that you're having to enable somebody and help them is that they can't even take care of themselves. So if you can't even take care of yourself, how can you expect... I apologize, my camera cut out, and so technical difficulties, I do apologize, but I'm gonna try and take up where I left off. So so when dealing with a loved one that has an addiction problem, they can hardly focus and take care of like their main necessities and take care of themselves. And a lot of times, like, the reasons why we want to help and enable our loved ones is in hopes that it will make them better. And then then you kind of talk a little bit about codependency, where then you're hoping that then as soon as they get better, then we can start focusing on us now. We can start focusing on me, and that's not how it works. Where it's like, it's really important to educate ourselves on addiction, how it works, how it actually affects the brain, and understanding a lot of the reasons why a lot of them may do and act certain ways to try and just logically understand it, but not coming from a sense of like trying to control it. It's just like, that's education, just for ourselves to just have to benefit, because when we try to control it, and because then we're trying to do manipulation as well. And when you're understanding like how much an addict or an alcoholic, or depending on the addiction, is going through in here, their one focus is on the one thing that they're addicted to, and they cannot be thinking and worrying about people around them, and that kind of stuff, like with people that care about them, because that just adds like more of the fuel. And so again, going back to the 3 C's, we didn't cause it, we can't control it, and we can't cure it. That's up to the person that has the addiction. And so the part of like surrendering and letting go of that is extremely difficult and hard, because when all you're wanting is to help a person and to like let go, to say, you know what, if they sleep on the streets, like, that's their decision, that's choice, I cannot control it. Because when we start helping, enabling, it's actually turmoiling our lives as well, because then we feel the burdens and the stress of like having, like dealing with finances. You know, when the bills start adding up, when the debt starts adding up, you know, that kind of a thing. And a lot of us are trying to make ends meet as it is, and then you're trying to help another individual with all of their costs, and they just, you know, they depend on other people to pay for their ways. And sometimes it might not even be dealing with money. It might just be dealing with just getting their way, whatever it is. Like, I want this and I want it now. That is another form of how the addiction affects you know, the brain. And that's why in my last video was I strongly, you know, was just like to educate yourself, but in a form that it's gonna help and benefit you. Because after this, it's gonna be like, that's gonna be like kind of like the next step. It was like letting go and surrendering, and, you know, having faith in the process of having firm boundaries, understanding manipulation, and just, you know, having faith in the process that, you know, what you're doing is the right benefit for the person that you care about. Because what you think is helping is actually hurting them. If you give them money, even though the intention is that the reason that you're giving them money is going to be for food, the fact that they are going to, like, the odds that, you know, that they're going to go and use that money for something else, then, you know, whether we want to face that or not, that's the reality of it. You know, they might actually use that money to pay that certain bill, but then that gives them like the other money that they should have paid for that bill to go and do what they want to do. And so in a ways that when we're enabling them, we're helping the addiction. We're helping the addiction prolong. We're helping the addiction take more control of the person, and it's going to be harder for them to then get out of that, because as soon as they start getting used to people helping them and to enable them, then, you know, they fall more deeper into those patterns. They just expect that everything else just to like work themselves out and not have to face reality one day. And so yeah, and then they you know, they might be playing the victim, saying like, oh, this is why things have happened to me, and, you know, not, and again, it's like they're not wanting to take accountability for their choices, for their decisions. And until they do, and until they decide to make that choice to where they're like, you know what, this isn't working anymore, like this is becoming to where their lives become so uncomfortable and unbearable that they just like, you're like, I can't live like this anymore. And then they make the choice to get better. But until they make that choice, there's nothing else anyone can do that's going to make them change, unless they're held accountable for their choices and their decisions. And so and that's what I've seen with dealing with my own loved one, you know, talking to other people, other families and stuff like that. It wasn't until that they stopped and sat back and was like, that's your problem. And then they started being like, oh, that doesn't work anymore. Okay. You know, and they try like a different avenue. And that's where, like, again, manipulation, setting those firm boundaries, and just being like, no, it's not acceptable. And until like, and that's like when they start getting the message being like, okay, I can't, you know, can't take advantage of the situation anymore. And if I want XYZ, then I need to start making some changes, and I need to start making some choices. And so, but yeah, unless they have any consequences, nothing will change unless something changes. Otherwise, it will stay exactly the same. And in that sense, it's like it can even get worse. You know, so it's like you have to ask yourself, like, is it really worth it? Like, you have to truly be honest with yourself and ask, like, am I really helping this person by not giving, having them, you know, admit their decisions and accepting those consequences. And so, and some of them, those consequences might be more severe than others. And a lot of times, like, that's kind of hard to accept. But at the end of the day, it's like, you didn't make them go and, you know, make those choices. They did. But when we're helping them and like supporting them in making those choices by enabling them, by not being held accountable, we have to then, you know, admit and own up to our decisions and our choices in doing so. And so, yeah, so it's, if it's something that's important to them, like, they will find a way. That's something that I've learned from talking to others, my own experiences. It's just like, if it was important to them, like if they can figure out how to, you know, be able to get their addiction every day, then they can figure out how to like get a meal and, you know, do that kind of stuff. But that's where also like the education comes into, to kind of understand, like, you know, and then the signs, the symptoms, you know, that I talked about in my previous video. But yeah, I hope that information helped. You know, I'm going to end it again with that quote where it's like, if a person with addiction is happy with you, it's because you're enabling them. But if they are angry with you, that means that you are doing something to try and save their life. So I am sending all my love. Remember that you guys are so strong. I'm so sorry that you are having to go through this right now, but know that you are not alone. I'm here for any kind of support if you guys need anything, but just take it day by day, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you.